Canine anxiety can come in many forms, and if you're a new pet owner, you're going to feel confused dealing with it. So you turn to TikTok for some easy tricks to calm your pets. But here's what I've noticed. Many TikTok videos that people think are showing cute behaviours are actually videos of dogs showing signs of anxiety. Learning the signs of dog anxiety can help you to identify this in other videos and in your own pets. Hi, I'm Dr. Catherine Dench. In my nearly 20 years as a clinical vet, I've helped thousands of anxious dogs. Today, I'm reacting to a few canine anxiety videos currently on TikTok. Let's check them out. Well, this is a great video to start with. In the first clip, you can see this dog panting a bit with their tongue out, and to the untrained eye, it might look like a classic happy dog just resting. But as the poster has explained so well in the captions, this is actually a sign of anxiety. You see, a dog with its tongue hanging out isn't always smiling with joy. Smiling in dogs is sometimes a stress signal, something like when we fidget or tap our feet. Misunderstanding anxiety for happiness is really dangerous because we continue to do what's making the dog anxious, and things can potentially escalate into a bite situation. So when I look at some of these clips, there are some tells in the dog's body language that let me know they're uncomfortable. The first dog, the shepherd, has his ears pinned back and his front legs aren't in a comfortable position. If he was relaxed and just panting, I'd expect his ears to be relaxed or perked up in curiosity, and he would have shifted his body into a more comfortable posture. With the second dog, again we have a lot of tension in the body there, but the biggest tell for me is the eyes, which are so wide open and they're not blinking at all. This dog is not a happy, relaxed pup. The third dog's body language also tells us a lot. They're crouched low, with the neck really close to their blanket, which is quite an uncomfortable position for a dog to pant in. Usually a dog that's just panting because they're hot will sit up more to get better airflow. The fact that this pup is trying to be small is another indicator that they're actually anxious at this time.
Nice to meet you. Can I say hello to you? My name's Tom. You can say hello. Hi. Hello. Wow. That's a nice leash you have there. I'm gonna sit down. Is it good, huh? Yeah. I'm gonna work you out of the corner. Get it. I won't look. Good. You like that? Does that feel good? Yeah.
So I'm going to warn you that my reaction to this one is mixed. There were several behavioural cues that made me nervous, and doing the same moves as this guy with a different dog might end in disaster. So let's run through the do's and don'ts that we can learn here about how to approach a nervous dog. First off, the vet's talking to the dog very softly, and that's gold. I use that too, and it works wonders. Dogs might not understand our words, but they definitely pick up on tone. So a calm, friendly voice can be reassuring as they understand that you aren't there to hurt them. In general, I wouldn't recommend putting your hand out fingers first towards an anxious pup. Letting the pup sniff you is a great idea, but more than one vet has lost the end of their fingers doing exactly what this guy's done here. Our reflexes are simply not fast enough if the dog reacts badly. So I'd always approach a new dog by offering the back of my hand with all my fingers curled under, and that way if there's an unexpected bite, I'm more likely to get my hand out of the way and less likely to have a serious injury. Did you notice the next thing that he did? He got down on the floor. When you loom over a scared pup and tower up high, that makes them feel more vulnerable. So by lowering himself, the vet becomes less intimidating. He's meeting the dog on their level and assuring the pup that he's harmless. That said, I'd be wary of getting as close as this guy did, especially lying on the floor, where it's difficult to move away quickly if things go wrong. The dog was still showing significant signs of anxiety, like cowering, licking their lips, and showing the whites of their eyes. And scared dogs need space. If you move in too close, there's a good chance that the pup will nip in self-defense. The video then cuts to a bit later in the interaction where the dog seems to have had a chance to get used to the vet and is offered a treat. Now, treats are a great way to create trust. When the dog accepts the treat, it's their way of saying, all right, maybe you're not so bad. And then did you see how he turned his back on the dog? So dogs interpret direct eye contact or facing them directly as confrontational. So turning his back was another way that the vet was showing that he was not a threat. He then sort of nudged the dog out of the corner. Now, in this case it worked, but again, this isn't something I'd necessarily recommend doing with every nervous dog that you come across. Pushing into a dog's personal space can backfire and it can make the dog more defensive. I find it more effective to let them have their space and come to you when they feel ready. So that way you're giving them a sense of control and safety. It was heartwarming to see the dog move out of the corner at the end and let the vet pet him. But if you noticed, there was still some lip licking going on at the end when he was sat in the vet's lap, which tells us that the dog was still feeling anxious at that point. And it would be important to stay careful as you proceed. So my advice when handling a terrified dog is that we should build trust, be empathetic, learn their language, and be patient. I also recommend making sure your dog is used to going to the vet from a young age and has good experiences there, so that they don't get scared like this. Most vets are happy for you to just take them in to visit the waiting room and have a treat or pop up on the weighing scales. Let's move on to the next video. I feel for this dog and I understand their anxiety at the thought of going on that escalator. Well, this video shows some heartwarming dedication and a small learning moment. So first, let's talk about the dog's fear. Escalators can be very intimidating for dogs. If you think about it, the ground is moving, it's noisy, there are strangers passing by, and the dog may also be remembering the sensation of having been on an escalator in the past. So is it safe for dogs to go on escalators? Well, some manage it just fine, but it's also sensible to be wary, in my opinion. An escalator has the steps and the comb plates with tiny gaps where your dog's fur, nails, tail, or even their leash can get caught. And if that happens, it can lead to injuries. Wearing paw pads or shoes might prevent their nails from getting caught, but it gives an increased chance of them slipping. Remember, if your dog has a bad experience with something that they're already nervous about, it's going to increase their anxiety tenfold. So what about the owner carrying the dog? Well, it clearly shows he understood his dog and he wanted to help them through this moment. But I would be worried if the dog got spooked partway up and started to struggle. My advice would be to skip the escalator whenever possible. Look for stairs, an elevator, or a ramp. Many public spaces have alternative routes for accessibility and they tend to be safer for dogs.
Chihuahua hates her collar. 4 months ago, someone took it off and I haven't been able to take her on a walk and she's starting to get a little chunky. So we've been working with a trainer and practicing with a headband to get her used to the feeling of wearing a collar. At first she was not into it, but now I can put it on, I can take it off, and she will run around in it. She hasn't tried to pull it off or anything. The collar, it's still not on, but we're making progress.
So this little rescue Chihuahua is on a big journey of learning to trust again, and her rescue parent is being creative and patient, which is so beautiful to see. Using a headband as a stand-in for a collar is a clever strategy. So let's talk about why this might work. For many rescues, collars can carry a lot of emotional baggage. If her previous experiences involved someone using a collar in a harsh or controlling way, it's no surprise she's wary of one. Even if that's not the case, a collar can feel restrictive or unfamiliar. But the headband is lightweight and less rigid than a traditional collar, which is making it easier for this pup to tolerate. Making sure to give treats when you put on the headband can also help her to associate the band with a positive experience. Gradually increase the time that she wears the headband each day, and once she's more relaxed about it, you can swap it out for a soft, lightweight collar, so long as you make sure that it's a comfortable fit. Then eventually, you'd switch to a real collar. If they start fussing once you introduce them to the actual collar, remember to use positive positive distractions. Engage your pup in their favourite activities like going for a short walk, playing fetch, or just exploring the backyard while they're wearing the collar. The fun will shift their focus away from the sensation of the collar, and gradually they'll stop noticing it. The approach here of slow and steady and lots of rewards can be applied to many important dog training scenarios. Muzzle training is a good example. If a dog is prone to nipping, then there might be times when muzzling is needed, like if the vet has to do something that's in their best interests but the dog is anxious about it. If they're used to wearing a muzzle, the experience will be much less stressful for them. Again, you'd take this slow and steady. You'd give treats for the dog sniffing the muzzle, treats for allowing the muzzle to touch their fur, treats for putting their nose on the muzzle, etc. You build strong positive associations every step of the way. This little Chihuahua is lucky to have such an understanding and thoughtful parent. With time and love, she'll get used to her collar.
Finley is a 6-month-old puppy who has some pretty intense anxiety sometimes. You can see here that she's panting really hard and her whole body is vibrating. At points her legs are shaking, she's licking her lips and snapping her jaw, and she's very hypervigilant. She's looking all around and sensitive to noises. She's not a fearful dog, but she's a very anxious dog, and when she doesn't listen to cues, that's when we know she's over threshold. You can even see her ears are bright red.
Oh, Finley here is doing her best. This is a classic example of a young pup being overstimulated in a big bustling environment like a Walmart. So at 6 months old, Finley is still a puppy, and big environments full of strange sights, sounds, smells and movement can be overwhelming. Her red ears and eyes, shaking, lip licking and hypervigilance are all signs of stress. When a dog is over their threshold, they lose the ability to focus on cues and learn new things. So how can you help your pup if they're in the same situation as poor Finley? Well, you can take them to a quiet place. They'll calm down quicker if they're away from the noisy crowds. If you haven't finished your shopping yet, you can go to part of the store that's just less busy to help ease her anxiety. It's all about gradual exposure, and it's okay to step back if things get too much. If she gets to the point that the anxiety circuit in her brain is over-triggered, the learning center just switches off and it can put your training back a few steps. If you've got a young puppy, socialization is key, and the earlier the better. You need to start small and build up gradually so that they can get used to different experiences at their own pace. Puppy training classes are a fantastic way to help with this, and also setting a schedule of places to visit. When you first start out training your dog, avoid overwhelming places. Instead, take your pup to small parks or pet-friendly cafes during off-peak hours. You can desensitize your pup by going to new places, staying there a short while, and then gradually increasing how long you're there as you monitor their reactions. As always, pair these experiences with treats to create positive associations. As you progress with your training, your pup will soon be able to go anywhere without being overwhelmed.
We brought Otto home and so much has changed. When he first got here, he was so scared that his knees would knock together, and for the first 6 weeks we pretended he was completely invisible to give him a chance to settle in. He moved around our house like a little ghost and had the chance to explore without anyone paying him unwanted or uncomfortable attention. For the first 2 months we kept him on the long lead in the house. He feels scared when you move towards him, so the lead meant we could step on the end and keep him safe if we needed, and it saved him a lot of stress. It also meant you could find him if he'd buried himself in blankets. He's masterful at this. A few weeks ago though, he finally felt brave enough to let us put his lead on at walk time, and we were able to take off the long lead for the first time. He's chosen me as his person, which is the honour of my life, not even joking, and he likes to check on me during the day and keep me company while I have my baths. Recently we went away for a few days and he was so pleased to see us when we got back. Him and Jess are totally bonded. Lots of spooning, napping, snacking and keeping each other company through difficult times. They've started tentatively playing together. It's very gentle and sweet and obviously makes us cry. We're learning that Otto is a morning person. He wakes us up at 6 a.m, standing on our chests, sniffing our faces and sometimes smacking us in the face in an effort to get a stroke. It's also when he does his most vigorous tail wags. His favourite things are eating cheese, watching birds and snuggling under the blanket. We've still got a long way to go with this guy, toilet training, getting him in his harness and then things like grooming and going to the vets. He still gets scared sometimes by sudden movements and new people, but we're so happy with how it's going, and for now we're just enjoying every cuddle.
Well, this is a beautiful story of Otto's journey from anxiety to love and trust, and it's an example of how patience, space and respect can transform a dog's life. So when Otto first came home, he was showing a lot of anxiety. New surroundings and new people are a lot for a dog to process, and his knees shaking must have been tough to see, but his owners handled it beautifully. The long leash strategy was a brilliant move. Giving Otto a long lead let him explore his new world at his own pace while still feeling secure. He had the freedom to sniff and observe without the pressure of close interaction, which is crucial for building his confidence. By not overwhelming Otto with attention, his owners gave him the space he needed to feel safe. This hands-off approach allowed him to come out of his shell naturally instead of forcing him to adapt too quickly. Another thing to note is that they weren't excessively reassuring, so they weren't reinforcing his fear. As Otto started to feel more comfortable, he began to warm up to his new family. Dogs like Otto often choose their person, and we can see that he now loves keeping his chosen owner company. When his owners went away for a few days, you could see how happy he was to have them back home with that tail-wagging reunion. So what did Otto's owners do right? Well, first they gave him room to explore and adjust on his own terms. They also let him approach the family when he was ready instead of forcing interactions. And thirdly, they built a stable environment where Otto felt safe to express himself. You may also notice that Otto looks to be uncastrated. Many people presume that castration will fix behaviour problems, but it can be a bad idea in very nervous dogs, as it removes the testosterone and makes them even more anxious. I'd always recommend seeking advice from a vet and a behaviourist before making decisions about neutering nervous dogs. This 14-year-old pup is proof that age doesn't diminish the love and connection that dogs crave. So in this video we see a dog that misses her favourite human, and luckily this family thought of a brilliant plan, which was to take her to the classroom where her favourite human worked. So being close to her owner gave her an instant sense of security. Dogs are incredibly attached to their people, especially in their golden years, and just being in the same room as their favourite person can calm their nerves. This video is also a beautiful reminder that when we treat our senior dogs as cherished family members, we can help them live their best lives. Whether it's extra cuddles, new adventures, not changing things around the house or their routine, or simply including them in everyday activities, these small efforts can make a world of difference. Speaking of older dogs, it is worth noting that there can be underlying medical conditions in elderly canines where the first symptom that we see is anxiety. So if an older dog suddenly develops anxious behaviours, it is best to take them to a vet for a checkup. We've seen a wide variety of canine anxieties in these TikTok videos, whether it's a scared pup on an escalator, a rescue dog finding their footing, or a senior dog missing their family. While techniques like having patience, positive reinforcement, and creating safe spaces work wonders, some people explore additional options to help their anxious dogs feel more at ease. One tool that's gaining popularity is using full-spectrum CBD oil. My personal recommendation is Happy Forever CBD oil by Pure Origins, a natural supplement that may help reduce anxiety in dogs. It's easy to administer and can offer other health benefits for your dog aside from anxiety relief. Pure Origins currently ships only within the USA, but if you're interested, check out pureorigins.com and use the code WELCOME10 to get 10% off. If you want to learn some more, click on this video over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.